All right, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this Tuesday morning, October 14th, 8 a.m. on the dot. We are getting just a little bit closer to regular season basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers. NBA, 1 week away. 1 week away, everybody, until the regular season starts. And then I could stop trying to break down preseason games for you guys. We could actually start getting into games. Thank you for hanging out. Got a full show today. Got a lot going on today. I do have a guest today. So we'll be hitting on a number of different things as we get ready for our guest coming up at 8:15. I do have, and I'll kind of walk through everybody, all the topics that we have. We'll start off the show this morning by just saying good morning. Hopefully everybody's enjoying a nice cup of coffee. Maybe you're sitting at work. Maybe you're sitting at home. Maybe you're driving. However the heck you're listening to the show, I appreciate you guys being here. I love the rain. Could I just get that out? Maybe it's because we have 7 days a year that we probably have rain, but I love the rain. And it is coming down. And I have a beautiful view of the rain right here. It's kind of a nice day here. So, cozy up. Do whatever the hell you do on this Tuesday morning, and we'll get the show rolling. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got for the show today, and then I'll take a look at some of the comments. We'll get the show started, and we'll go from there. All right, first thing I'll throw out here. Lakers got another preseason game coming up tonight, and I think everybody will be excited to hear that we got some stuff that we can actually look at tonight. Not to say that all those other games meant nothing, not to say that you can't learn anything about this team in preseason basketball, but damn, is it difficult to learn some things when the best player on your team in Luka Doncic, and of course LeBron as well, but Luka specifically because we know he's going to be there for the start of the regular season. Really hard to kind of gauge what the heck this team is without Luka. Not that we're going to get all our answers tonight, but Lakers got a preseason game tonight. Luka and Marcus Smart. By the way, this has kind of been swept under the rug a little bit. Marcus Smart's going to be making his debut as well. So both Luka Doncic, Marcus Smart will be available for the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Lakers are going to get a chance for the first time this preseason to kind of see what some of these pieces look like. We've obviously already seen it with DeAndre Ayton. We're seeing some of these other players, Jake LaRavia, other players that are returning healthy. But tonight we get to see Luka and Marcus Smart. So of all these preseason games that we've watched so far, we got 3 in the books. This one I am by far most excited about, and I'll kind of break down what to expect for tonight's game as well. So Luka, Marcus Smart will make their debuts tonight. My guest for today's show, Mark Medina. So Mark Medina does a ton of different work. Athlon Sports is where he's predominantly at, but also does work with Spectrum Sportsnet, Fox Sports Radio. Go down the list. He's everywhere. CBS Sports. So he's going to join the show, and I'm looking forward to get his thoughts on the upcoming season. Obviously, specifics within the Lakers, within the NBA. It's going to be fun to break it down with him. Who starts without LeBron? You know, I think what's kind of been lost in this mix, we've talked about what the starter should look like. I think what we're forgetting, yesterday I mentioned that LeBron's reevaluated 3 to 4 weeks from now, probably going to miss at least 7 to 10 games, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe he misses more time than that. Well, somebody's got to start in LeBron's spot, and I don't think we've spent enough time from that perspective until LeBron gets back or until LeBron's comfortable and healthy and everything else. What does a starting lineup without LeBron look like? Spend a little bit of time on that. I got a couple stories on the NBA front, NBA news, little bit sort of an update with the NBA, the Clippers, Aspiration, Kawhi Leonard. So we'll spend a brief second on that. A couple things around sports yesterday, a couple playoff games. My guy, Mike Shildt, retires as the San Diego Padres manager. Where the hell did that come from? And then a couple things on Monday Night Football as well. 2 games yesterday, and then we'll get the heck out of here. So thank you for being a part of the show. Please do me a favor if you guys don't mind. It takes just a couple of seconds. It helps. I'm sure a lot of you guys that consume content here are probably consuming YouTube content everywhere. A lot of these channels, the way the channels grow is through subscriptions, is through liking the videos, sharing it with anybody that you think would like it as well. So if you don't mind doing that, I would greatly appreciate that. Would certainly help the channel as we continue to grow over 33,000 subscribers. And the hope is, once the season gets rolling, who knows? Maybe by the end of the year, we're up to 40, 45,000. We'll see what happens. We'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. But if you guys don't mind subscribing, would greatly appreciate that. Take a look at a couple of the comments, get the show started, and then I'll get to some of my topics here before we get to before we get to Mark Medina. All right, I got a quote here. Ocean Breeze always coming through. Once you feel what consistent training in the gym does for your mind, you realize the fit body is just the bonus. Solid right there. Not gonna lie. I've been going to the gym last couple of months now, and I hadn't been lifting. Does help. Kind of mentally stimulating if that makes sense from that perspective. It's phenomenal. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm looking forward to getting an idea of what the team will look like with AR-15 and Luka versus the primary ball handlers via LeBron's exit. This season would give us an idea as what would it look like. And listen, here's another thing. You're probably already going to get a lot of opportunities this year to see what that looks like because LeBron's going to be in and out of the lineup. And hopefully not. I mean, I will just say this with Bron. With LeBron, you want to be strategic anyways, even if he was 100% healthy. But the fact that he's not healthy to start the season, that says a lot right there. So we're gonna see plenty of lineups without LeBron, and then like I was mentioning yesterday, it's all irrelevant. If the Lakers want to be successful, LeBron's got to be in that lineup. Period. Let's see what else we have here. Get a couple more of these in here. Let's see. Can you add timestamps to your shows? After every show, I timestamp it. So you should be good on that front. Obviously, when I'm doing the show live, I'm not. But right when the show ends, I timestamp. So if one of those didn't work out or something along those lines, maybe I screwed up something. But I always timestamp. So I know how important that is to be able to kind of jump through to different topics that you guys want. All right, let's get the show started. I appreciate everybody throwing in the comments. One last sip of coffee. Beautiful Tuesday morning. Sometimes people want the sun. I'll take some clouds. Give me some clouds and rain. You kidding me? We're up in Southern California. This is like a holiday today. Is this Christmas? All right, let me stop overreacting here. Lakers versus Suns, preseason game number 4 coming up tonight. And, obviously, like I was saying before, what we are waiting for, and I think what everybody was waiting for, is like, okay, you know what? I got a chance so far. I mean, if I had some takeaways so far from preseason basketball, I think DeAndre Ayton's looking better after every game. And you see what kind of opportunity he could potentially have on this team and what an integral piece he can become. What other takeaways would I look at? I think Jake LaRavia is going to be a nice addition for the Lakers. I think we'll wait and see. Vando looks healthy, phenomenal energy. Austin Reaves, in just the few minutes he's played and the time that he's played when he's in these games, just looks like he's going to continue to take his game to another level. So there's some things that I've noticed, but what I really want to see is, what does this all look like with Luka Doncic? What I really want to see is Marcus Smart going to be an asset to the Lakers this year? Or is he going to be more of that piece that he's been these last couple of years where he can't get on the floor? He's played, if I always get the math, kind of juggling all these different numbers in my head. I think it's 51 games he's played over the last 2 seasons. Is this just going to be kind of a stamp on Marcus Smart? Like, yeah, you're never going to get that Marcus Smart again. I don't know. I don't have that answer. But the fact that tonight there will be a debut, Luka's debut for the Lakers, as far as preseason basketball goes, and for Marcus Smart, I don't want this to get lost, because it's very easy to get lost. How could it not? It's, when you're talking about a guy the caliber of Luka Doncic, that's where all of our attention always goes to. But let me read a couple things here just to kind of set up for tonight's game. Here's what JJ Redick said about Luka. Now, remember, there's 3 preseason games left, and he's supposed to play in 2 of these 3. So I think the question becomes, well, which 3 preseason games is he going to play in? Let me read something here from JJ Redick. He said, I would say there will most likely be a ramp up from game 1 to game 2 in Luka's minutes. This is what JJ Redick was saying. What the total number looks like, we're still talking to his trainer and what makes sense for Luka. So he's kind of waiting on that, doesn't want to promise anything. And the fact that the Lakers got a game tonight and then a game tomorrow night, remember, they're in Phoenix tonight, they're in Vegas tomorrow. The fact that they got 2 games in 2 nights and that we know he's playing tonight makes me think that Luka Doncic, I'm just going to assume, is not going to be available for tomorrow's game against the Dallas Mavericks. What's the point of playing him in a back-to-back? You have another game coming up on Friday against the Sacramento Kings. Do you stagger this? Do you kind of, all right, let me play Luka on Tuesday, and then let me play him again on Friday? Now, I'm sure for many fans out there, anybody that was looking at the preseason schedule and saw that it was Lakers versus Dallas, they're like, well, why the hell is he playing versus Phoenix and not playing against the Dallas Mavericks? Listen, I don't know if he'll play tomorrow. I will tell you this. If he doesn't play tomorrow, maybe there's a little bit of that from Luka Doncic, like, guys, we already did all that last year. I went to Dallas. The storyline was about me and the Dallas Mavericks and Dallas trading me. Maybe this is a kind of a little bit of a message like that's old news. And listen, for us, it's not going to be all news. I know for me, somebody that's doing a daily show, when I see the schedule and I see the Dallas Mavericks and the Lakers, I'm not going to treat it like every other game. But maybe for Luka, it's like, I'm going to play in this game on Tuesday. I got enough days rest between then to play on Friday, and then the regular season is going to start a week from today. It could be a lot more strategic from that perspective. So something to keep in mind in regards to Luka. What do we want to see from Luka? You know, I'm looking forward. I'm going to bring Mark Medina on here in just another minute or two. I'm really looking forward to get his opinion and his thoughts as well, because Luka is such an integral piece to this entire engine for the Lakers. And I'm not telling you we're going to get exactly what that's going to look like with DeAndre and with Marcus Smart in a preseason game. But Luka will make everyone's life easier. He'll make Ayton's life easier. He'll make Vando's life easier. Rui Hachimura, Austin Reaves. I mean, he's just one of those special players that the Lakers are very fortunate to have on their roster that is one of the best in the world, is an international superstar, is walking into the prime of his career. He's only 26. I mean, I don't know what the prime is anymore. I know it lasts longer, but is the prime 26? Is it 28? It used to be 28. He's walking into a stage of his career where every single night he steps on the floor, you got a shot to win. And it almost doesn't even matter who the other 4 guys are. And obviously Lakers have some talent, and we'll see what they're able to do. The last quick thing I'm going to mention here on Marcus Smart, just to give everyone an idea, because I did say that the Smart piece is also important. So Marcus Smart, he'll make his debut as well today. Austin Reaves will also be in the lineup. And I think for Marcus Smart, it's just all going to come down to health. That's it. I don't think anybody cares about anything else. As long as if you told me Marcus Smart, can he play 60 games this year? I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat, just based on what's happened the last 2 seasons with Marcus Smart. He can be either a huge asset for the Lakers, or it's a player that's like, okay, maybe this is why he got bought out. Maybe his best days are behind him. But at least by the time tonight is all said and done, we can have different conversations other than Ayton and Dalton Connect and Vando. And obviously that, I think, is going to be kind of refreshing and will be a key piece to everything else. Okay, I want to welcome in our guest, very, very kind Mark Medina, to make some time for us here. Mark Medina joining the show. What's going on, Mark?
Always good chatting Lakers with you, whether we know who's going to be in or out of the lineup or not.
Oh, 100%. I mean, listen, I think that's the perfect way to put it right there. In preseason, we have no idea who's going to play. But the fact that we kind of have a little bit of an idea here of who's going to be playing tonight obviously makes it exciting. For those who know, Mark Medina, part of Athlon Sports, also does some great TV work with CBS, also Spectrum Sportsnet, and you hear him obviously on Fox Sports Radio. So, Mark, you ready to go? You ready for the season?
Let's do it. I'm more ready than LeBron is. I'll be there opening night.
Okay, perfect. That's okay. Let's start right there. How concerning is it? Just the fact that he has not had. I mean, if you look back on his history, 23rd year in the NBA, if I'm correct, if I read this right, he hasn't missed an opening night. So the fact that we're sitting here and news already coming out, this is something he's been dealing with for the last couple of months, out 3 to 4 weeks, which maybe is 7 to 10 games if he ends up out for that timeline. does it concern you, or no, it's October and November, so who cares? You just want LeBron healthy later.
Yeah, I would say I'm on medium level concern. The reason why it's not on high, LeBron doesn't need to play in preseason games. If you are going to get hurt, it's more optimal to have those things come up at the beginning of the season than at the end. But where it is concerning is LeBron doesn't need to play any preseason games for himself. I think it was important for LeBron to play preseason games for everyone else because, as you may recall, Alan, when they lost in the first round of Minnesota, a lot of it was about, hey, Luka's really special, LeBron's really special, but they didn't really get a lot of time together. And if you have a full
That's a good
training
point.
camp and more games, they can iron out that chemistry. But I think it's also the bigger thing. Um, it's everyone around them, especially the new pieces. I think the other thing that we also have to keep in mind, he's obviously 40 years old, going to be 41 December 30th. And the timeline is always key to look at because 3 to 4 weeks doesn't mean that's when he's going to be returning. That's when he's going to be reevaluated. So that's always leaves the window open that his absence is going to be longer than that. And if nothing else, it clearly established that that's when he'll get cleared to do some ramp up work. So let's say 4 weeks, that's 9 games, but let's just hypothetically say then he's cleared to ramp up, doing some 5-on-5, non-contact, contact, and then ready to play. Maybe that takes about a week and you're connecting the dots there. And he might be back November 12th against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that's almost, 2.5 weeks of regular season ball. So I think the bigger thing also is that because of where he's at his career, is this a sign of what the trend's going to be this entire season?
Sure.
Where he's managing different injuries. Now, I do caution Laker fans, different circumstances, but Steve Nash had sciatica at the beginning of his season that he wound up being ruled out for the entire season before formally announcing his retirement later in the season. I don't think it's to that severity, and it's a different type of injury as far as how he got it because it was in the off season, not during training camp. But when you're doing unprecedented things, playing at an elite level at 40 years old, entering your 23rd season, things can always change dramatically with your health.
So is it safe to say LeBron's just being lazy? I'm just kidding. It's funny, Mark. I kind of have this. We're so trained of just LeBron's going to be there. Yeah, no, he just doesn't get injured. Yeah, no, his body's just different than everybody else. He's 22 years in. He's trained us to just what he's done in his career. This is not the norm by any stretch of the imagination. And we could go look at all these all-time greats that played 15 years, 18 years, 20 years. They all have had some kind of injury. And I'm not telling you LeBron hasn't had injuries. Of course he's had injuries, but he's trained us where it's like, what do you mean LeBron's out 3 to 4 weeks or going to get reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks? That's not what LeBron does. Where all these other athletes, it's like, yeah, they wake up and some of them are load managing, some of them are not, however you want to look at it. So I think it's a good way to put it. And I like the way you put it specifically about it's less about LeBron being on the court per se. It's more about other guys not getting a chance to play with LeBron and kind of adjusting, what he brings to the table and the attention that he brings to the table. Let me ask you this then. In his absence, what are you hoping to see from this team? Obviously, they had some of the additions that they made. Some people like the additions. There's a lot of question marks about the additions. With LeBron not in the lineup, how do Lakers kind of keep this engine going until he's able to return?
Well, now that Luka Doncic is going to be back, it really just fast tracks that this is his team. And this was going to be his team all along. The moment he put on a Lakers uniform, the keys were going to belong to him as far as how he runs the offense, how the team itself builds the roster around him. But this accelerates even more because he's out. I think the other thing that I'm looking for is the chemistry piece, specifically with Luka. I think the biggest thing is DeAndre Ayton because of him wanting to, have a reclamation of his career, but also his potential as a really great pick and roll partner. That chemistry can be very lethal. I think the other thing that JJ Redick has to wrestle with is just what does the starting lineup look like? I know that JJ has pushed back a lot on it doesn't necessarily matter who starts, it's more about rotations itself. But that is a key puzzle piece because, when he's been talking about this recently, on one hand, he's talking about the need to have floor spacing around Luka, i.e.,
Mhm.
you need to have another good shooter with him, like a Jake LaRavia or a Dalton Connect. But he's also talked about the need to have good point of attack defense to complement Luka. And when you look at that, that's someone like Jared Vanderbilt. Dalton Connect hasn't been known for being a great defender. Jake LaRavia has impressed JJ Redick and the rest of the coaching staff on, being a pretty good two-way player. Jared Vanderbilt, he's put a lot of change in his shot this offseason. He's healthier, but I think there still is a wait and see approach on whether that means he's going to become a very effective shooter. So those are the things that JJ Redick has to wrestle with. He would have still had to wrestle that with LeBron James, but because of his presence, gravity, his obvious skill set, and he has embraced playing off the ball with Luka, those spacing shooting concerns aren't as pronounced, as well as defense, because last season LeBron took it upon himself to be more embracing of that role. So same issue still would have been there with LeBron. You just, multiply it by 100.
I'll throw this out to the chat there, Mark. It's a good topic just in itself. With LeBron out, what do you think should be that starting lineup, and how would you kind of fit in that five? I think there's a couple that we know that, all right, we know they're going to be in the starting lineup, but you can go a couple different routes, and if the chat wants to put in who the starting five should be without LeBron, feel free to do so. What would you do in that position and situation, knowing LeBron's going to be out for could be a month?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if JJ Redick does the case by case, team by team based on matchups. But I think generally the starting lineup will likely look like this. It would be Luka, Austin Reaves, Jake LaRavia, Rui Hachimura, and DeAndre Ayton. I think,
Interesting.
he's going to start every game barring health.
I agree.
Rui Hachimura, I think that could always be fluid, but because of the amount of investment they put in Rui, they also want to be able to collect data on, how they feel about his future moving forward. And he's just a very great, versatile player, and they're very high on him continuing to build on his consistency. I think he's starting. I think really it's going to be about determining who is that getting that final slot among Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, maybe Marcus Smart, but because of the health concerns that you outlined, I think that it's more about bringing him off the bench, and it's also because he's been accepting of doing that role with being a mentor for secondary guys around the team, having that defensive intensity and scoring threat. And he can also still have his leadership presence in the locker room, even if he's not sharing the bulk of minutes with Luka. So if I had to guess, Jake LaRavia is going to be that guy that's going to be that fifth starter.
Is that predominantly because you do feel like he's not one dimensional, that there is a little bit I
Yeah.
can do where, listen, these other guys, I mean, God bless Vando. And I know a lot of people keep talking about he's improving his shot, this and that. And I keep saying, if I'm the opposing team, it's like, sounds good, Vando. Go ahead and work on your shot during the game, because I'm still not guarding you from the 3-point line or whatever the case is. And I'm somebody that loves Vando's game, but obviously he's going to be more defensive focused. You think the LaRavia side of it is just because there's more balance on both sides?
Without a doubt. Now, again, I wouldn't be surprised knowing how JJ is. Maybe he tilts defensively if there is such a huge, opposing team star that he needs Vando's defense right off the bat. But I know with JJ's offense, he wants a lot of good spacing. He wants 3-point threats. And Jake LaRavia, I think you hit it on the head that he is seen as a more two-way player. He's not an elite player. He's not an all-star caliber player. There might be games that he doesn't shoot the ball necessarily well, but unlike Vando, he, I think, is going to improve the spacing because he's at least more of a shooting threat. He has the potential to hit those 2 or 3, 4 key shots a game, and his defense is still pretty respectable. Jared Vanderbilt's a great defender. He's been a game changer ever since the Lakers got him in that trade, along with D'Angelo Russell. to complement Anthony Davis when he was on the team. But, even though he's putting in a lot of work offensively, again, I still think it's wait and see. And you do wonder if, this is just kind of a preseason training camp storyline that doesn't necessarily carry over into the regular season.
Mark, I feel like it's tough to kind of gauge the Lakers this year for me. Like I think there's a ceiling and a floor, and I'm trying to kind of figure out, all right, everything goes great. Ayton's a phenomenal player for them. He's fighting for a contract and kind of to keep his career relevant. Marcus Smart is available and he does what he does. LeBron comes back healthy. Luka's having an MVP type of season. I think there is a world where the Lakers can have a really, really good season and then walk into the playoffs and it's like, all right, let's see what happens. I think there's also a world where I don't know if Ayton's going to be the player that the Lakers need him to be, and some of these other players fit perfectly, and do they have enough defense? Is there enough balance and everything else? What is, from your perspective, kind of the outlook? What do you think is realistic for the Lakers this season with the team that they have currently? And then I'll kind of ask you, some scenarios that may play out that would make them very aggressive to go out at the trade deadline, or scenarios that would play out where they're just like, well, let's pump the brakes here before we make any moves.
Yeah, I think that they're in that second tier along with the Golden State Warriors, where they have that potential if everything aligns the way that you hope with health and chemistry, that they have a puncher's chance to be a contender to challenge Oklahoma City and Denver. But because of the fluidity and fragile parts of health and a lot of new pieces, there's also the scenario that I'm not going to say they're a lottery team. That's unrealistic. They would make the playoffs, but it could be a first round exit. It's obviously goes without saying it's going to start with health, starting with LeBron James, but then it's going to be about the chemistry. But I think the good thing that the Lakers should lean on is that regardless of all this fluidity, they have Luka Doncic, and he is going to be a much more improved version of himself than last year, because we know how much better shape he's in, better physique. He's going to have more on-court chemistry with everyone. But you also want to run against the danger that if there are health issues or supporting cast guys not making the most of their potential, is this Dallas Mavericks 3.0 again, where it's Luka carrying the team? And we've seen that can only go so far. But I think in fairness to the Lakers, while there are a lot of question marks with each player, and specifically with LeBron with his health, there are enough reinforcements to fill in gaps that they're not going to punt on the season. They're not going to, try to compete for lottery ping pong balls or just do rebuild moves before the trade deadline, because they have Luka Doncic on the team. I think obviously the other piece is, what does LeBron's future look like? Now, that's fluid, but if I had to guess, I don't think that he's going to ever request a trade, even do a buyout. I think that practically speaking, he's going to determine, for better and for worse, it's best to just play with the Lakers. He's making a lot of money this season, and he's still having a chance to play for an iconic franchise and play with an iconic superstar with Luka Doncic. So all this calculating, is there a better scenario where I could chase a championship on another team? I just don't see that happening, even with all the question marks about his own health, as well as just how well the Lakers can do with the roster pieces they have.
What do you make? You said, I like what you mentioned about, obviously this team is not going to be, let's chase ping pong balls and let's take our chance in the draft. You're right. They have Luka. There is I've said this a couple different times on the show the last couple of weeks. What makes Luka so unique is the only thing he has not personally accomplished is an NBA championship. Now, and if I say personally, I could also say he hasn't won an MVP, but the point that I'm making is Luka's not in this, well, I'm going to let the Lakers kind of figure this out over the next 3-4 years. I mean, I think there is pressure on Luka of like, guys, I've been to an NBA Finals. I've been to a Western Conference championship as well. What kind of pressure do you think is on the organization? And when I say pressure, I don't mean, it's not a negative sense. It's just, you just traded for Luka. You just signed him to an extension. He's an absolute superstar, probably top 3, top 4, maybe top 2 in the NBA. and you want to try to take advantage of every single year that he's wearing your jersey. What kind of pressure do you think is on the organization to make sure that this team represents what Luka wants and obviously what the organization wants as well? And how do you think that affects the flow of the season from a perspective of a ton of guys on expiring contracts? Are you going out there at the trade deadline and being very, very aggressive? Just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think there's obviously always pressure with the Lakers because they want to win a championship. With Luka Doncic, he hasn't won a championship yet. And so even though we know he's a special player, he's made five all NBA first teams already. He could win his first MVP award this season. He's going to be talked about. Okay, well, have you won a title yet? So there's inevitably pressure with this, but how does it influence roster decisions? I think that because of the fact that they also have LeBron James on their team, I don't think that they're going to make any moves that are just marginal before the trade deadline. It's either big swings or nothing at all.
Mm.
But I think the problem is I don't think that any of that involves LeBron James because as special of a player as he is, I just don't see unless he's going to be willing to accept this huge buyout negotiation and he's playing at minimum money, which, he deserves a lot more than that, that there's a scenario that other teams are going to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put all my chips on a 41-year-old star that has questions about his durability. It just doesn't align that way. So I think what it's about is about keeping flexibility for next summer and also just seeing how the dominoes around the NBA falls. The most, low-hanging fruit obviously is with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks have always maintained, hey, he's not going anywhere. This is more media manufactured than anything else. But I think around the league, there is still kind of a wait and see approach with that because there's questions on how they're going to fit in the Eastern Conference landscape, even with the diminished conference with the Celtics without Jason Tatum, who, even with these impressive workout videos and his recovery, probably isn't going to come back this season because of his Achilles injury. And Tyrese Halliburton definitely is not coming back with the Indiana Pacers because of his own Achilles injury. So that's always up in the air. I think Nikola Jokic, he's made it clear at Media Day he wants to be with the Nuggets for his entire life. So that's not the thing. But as we know, Alan, in the NBA, things change very quickly. So even if you X Jokic off the board, the player movement has been so unpredictable, so fluid that there's going to be other stars that could be potentially available in a trade. So that's what it's all about. The Lakers are trying to set themselves up for in future off seasons.
Well, I think this, yesterday, our buddy Dave McMenamin put a great article together on ESPN about 4 different scenarios for LeBron. And I think the one that I kept saying is least likely. I don't think he's getting bought out. I don't think he's requesting a trade this year. So I don't even entertain that. I think the question for LeBron is just whether does he want to play after this year and what would it look like after this year? Are Lakers coming in with a ton of money? Are they not? So the LeBron piece of it for this season, I'm just expecting LeBron to be a Los Angeles Laker this year.
Yeah.
I think the question that I have more of is some of the other players on the roster, like Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, of course, Austin Reaves. It's more, will a scenario build itself out for the Lakers where they say, okay, maybe it's not the superstar, maybe it's not Giannis that we went after, but damn, would this person be a great fit on this team and this roster? Obviously, we'll wait to see. I'm sure Pelinka addresses all, or not addresses, but is open to any conversation depending on, what the return package is. Okay, let me stay on that one player that I just mentioned, Austin Reaves. What do you think is Reaves' value around the NBA? How do you think other teams view Austin Reaves around the league? And if I told you a year from now, again, this is just, obviously us having a discussion. A year from now, do you think Austin Reaves has re-upped and he's a Los Angeles Laker?
Yeah, I think he will re-up as a Los Angeles Laker, but he's very valued around the league. I think there's a lot of different discussions on what his ceiling is. Can he be an all-star, or does he not quite have that level to get to that point? But regardless, I think everyone internally with the Lakers around the league, they pencil in as a guy that can get you 20, 25 points a night. He competes his you know what off. He has great chemistry with star and role players. And, the so called deficiencies that he has, that he's not the best defender. I think that he's improved in that. He's also, a team guy. So he puts in the effort. So I think that regardless of, we don't know, will he ever reach all-star caliber status? He is winning star player caliber status. So if you are constructing a championship team, you want to have him in that mix there because he contributes to winning. But he's also more than just a glorified role player. He is a key piece, and maybe not being a big three, he could be, but he is a key piece in chemistry with star players as well as role players. And just, the fact that he's a great positive locker room guy, that's, extra cherry on top of the sundae. So there is a market for him, but I think the Lakers are very also mindful of that. So I think that both sides will agree to a deal, and that's that.
I'm going to hit on one other. You mentioned Giannis, and Giannis has been. It's funny, Mark. Before free agency started, there was this free agency will not start until we know what Giannis is going to do, and then all of a sudden, it went quiet, and there really wasn't that much to talk about. And then here we are before the regular season starts. Giannis, the conversation blows up again. The story comes out about the Knicks and the Bucks talking about a potential trade and everything else. And listen, let's be the reason why I think a lot of this has the juice, maybe you want to call it, is because Giannis has also said things where it's impossible not to pay attention to what Giannis is saying and say, no, this is real. This is coming from Giannis's mouth. This isn't a source or anything like that. As we get ready for the regular season to start, Giannis now becomes kind of the head of the conversation again. What's the path? If there's a way for Giannis to not become a New York Knick or a Miami Heat or any of those, and there is a way to link up Giannis and Luka Doncic, is the only path for that to happen is Giannis saying, guys, I want to play for one team. I want to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't care where you trade me. It doesn't matter. When I become an unrestricted free agent, I'm signing with them. Is that kind of the only path?
That's not the only path, but I think as we've seen with Giannis, he's never given outright directives to the Bucks, and I would be surprised if he ever gives an outright directive if he feels more frustrated this season. I think it's always going to be about being open-ended and saying, "Yeah, I want to stay here, but I also want to win, and I want to be at a place that's going to win." Obviously, the NBA forbids players from making public trade demands. They fine that for that. But he hasn't even done the behind the scenes route of saying in, private discussions that then get leaked out that he wants to be traded. And I don't think he has it in him to ever do that. And I think in fairness to the Bucks, when you're talking about such a unique talent like Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially when you're in a small market, unless a player is making it clear he wants out, it's really hard to then start shopping him around. Really what's happened is other teams have called about Giannis, and a lot of times the Bucks just hang up on them because they love Giannis. But if there's entertaining, creative, very intriguing trade proposals, they could listen. But without getting that outright directive from Giannis, I think it's always going to be about receiving phone calls and initiating because it's about making sure that you get something instead of nothing if he wants out.
Yeah, I think the Giannis piece, the biggest one, it doesn't matter what I hear from a reporter, story, this, that, none of that. What comes out of Giannis's mouth? And what comes out of Giannis's mouth is not somebody that's giving anyone some reassurance that he's going to be a Milwaukee Buck for his rest. And by the way, I respect it. I'm okay with it. He's done everything he can for Milwaukee. They've won an NBA championship. I respect I put pressure on my organization to continue to compete. And then at the end of the day, if he does eventually get traded or he walks away, can anyone in Milwaukee be upset with Giannis Antetokounmpo? I don't think they can. Obviously he's been brilliant for them. So we'll kind of watch that storyline as it goes. A couple more here, Mark, and I appreciate you taking the time. Let me kind of just jump back to Luka here for a quick second. What are you most excited about to see from Luka this season as he gets his, first training camp? There is no surprises, shocks, the trade deadline, all that stuff there's nothing to talk about there anymore. He looks like, as far as shape goes, phenomenal shape. What are you most excited about this year?
Yeah, I'm excited for like the revenge season because, as you noted, last year he definitely had those moments, especially when he faced his former team. But he was still, I think, processing through it all. He was dealing with a calf injury. He was still trying to iron out chemistry, and the criticism that followed him on his way out from Dallas about his conditioning, they weren't necessarily wrong with it. It was more about how do you put that in context of justifying a trade, especially for what you get in return. But he addressed all those different things this offseason. And so I think moving forward, there's a chance that we can say, you know what, Luka Doncic, you don't have any weaknesses in your game. You've improved your conditioning. You haven't lost your skill set as this amazing scorer that can take the big shot, but you're passing the ball a lot more and ensuring better ball movement. You're being more of a vocal leader. It seems like he's embracing all those things to take his game to a next level. And that's very scary because the so-called diminished version of Luka, where he didn't always pass the ball, he didn't always trust his teammates, he wasn't always in the best of shape, but you know what? It was still good enough to lead a Dallas Mavericks team to the finals and make 5 All-NBA first teams. And so if he's addressed all those things, I can just only imagine what his season's now going to look like. He's going to be in the running for MVP. He could win it outright. And even with all some of the roster question marks that we have about LeBron James's health and the role players fit and what their chemistry is, he's shown that he can carry a team on his back and camouflage some of the weaknesses. That's not ideal, especially because the Thunder, they basically have their championship team back. The Nuggets, they still have Nikola Jokic, a healthier Jamal Murray. They now have better depth reinforcements with getting Bruce Brown back. Christian Braun has been one of the lone success stories of young guys elevating into a new role, and he's going to have an even bigger role this season. And that Cam Johnson addition with trading Michael Porter Jr. is huge because he provides some of the scoring that MPJ did, but he's also a much better defender. And so it's not ideal if it's about Luka carrying the team because they have a lot better depth, but he has shown that it can at least carry a team a far way.
Final one, buddy, and I appreciate the time. This one more, and I think as I kind of look at the scope of the NBA, as you want to put it, one of the bigger storylines outside of just X's and O's and everything else was this Clippers, Steve Ballmer, Aspiration, Kawhi Leonard. All right, the whole thing. What do you make of this? And I guess not when the dust settles, how do you think the NBA addresses this? Because one of the things in listening to Pablo Torre, who was on Mark Stein's podcast on his Substack, it's obviously a bad look for everybody if Kawhi Leonard was getting paid and the Clippers were trying to circumvent the salary cap and everything else. Just what do you make of the story? And when the dust settles, does anything happen to the Clippers or Kawhi or Steve Ballmer?
Yeah, I mean, you have to take the story seriously because salary cap circumvention is a very important thing to the league, and it's not doesn't have any comparison to when we roll our eyes when free agents would agree to a deal at 12:01. I mean, these are rules that are put in place to try to ensure competitive balance between big and small markets. And if the league is going to look the other way on this, if they see evidence of salary cap circumvention, they may as well not put any rules at all in place because they've been putting these rules in place like the second apron to try to have competitive balance in the lower division between big and small markets. So what I think the NBA does, it's anyone's guess, but I think the formula is if the NBA can find evidence that clearly establishes the Clippers committed wrongdoing, I think they will be penalized. They're not losing the All-Star game, and I don't even know and think that they're going to conclude everything by that point in February. So any decision that's made is going to be after that, maybe in the off season. If they do find the evidence, I could see some fines, loss of draft picks, but outside of that, I don't think anything else will happen. But there's also the chance that nothing happens because while the NBA doesn't like these allegations, doesn't sit well with them, it's not always about what you think or what you think you know. It's what you can prove.
Sure.
So I think that's the basic formula. But how we reach that formula is going to be anyone's guess here.
All right, buddy. We got 1 week till the regular season starts. A couple more preseason games. Get a chance to see Luka tonight and Marcus Smart. Thank you for the time. I appreciate you joining the show, and thank you always for the insight.
Alan, thanks, buddy. Always good chatting with you and looking forward to the season.
All right. Thank you, buddy. That is Mark Medina right there doing his thing. Shout out to Mark Medina. Great to have him on the show and get his insight on everything. He's phenomenal around the NBA, Lakers, everything. He's a great guest to have on, so I appreciate his time. Okay, we got a lot of comments that we got to get into. Some people angry at me. It's okay. It happens. It comes with the territory. And then I also got a couple other topics that I want to get into. And we'll go till, 9-ish for the show today. We'll go as far as we need to go. Before I do anything else, I got to give a shout out, of course, to our great partner, Brad Wallace, the Wallace firm, injury attorneys representing the state of California. Very grateful to have them as a partner on the channel. Grateful to have a lot of our listeners who show love to our partners. So thank you for that. If you've been in a serious injury, a wrongful death case, a family member is dealing with a situation, it's intimidating, you're not really sure what to do, certainly an uncomfortable situation, you got to go to an expert. You got to go to somebody that has been the top of his class, the top of his industry. You got to go to Brad Wallace. Now, here's the beauty with this relationship is I know him personally. I've known him for years. He was with me for many years when I was on radio. And then now he's with me here on YouTube and kind of believing in the channel and where we're going and obviously the vision of what this channel is. If you are a family member or in a situation, go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Fill out a free consultation. Let them reach back out to you and see if they can help you. Nothing you're going to pay out of your pocket. Again, I hope you guys don't need Brad Wallace, the Wallace team, and the Wallace firm. But things happen in life. And if something does happen and you need an expert behind you, go with the best in the business. It's Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. So shout out to Brad. Again, the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Okay, let's start looking at some of the comments here. We'll get a chance to get people's thoughts, opinion on a few different topics that we hit on. For those who have sent in a super, thank you very much for sending in a super. Let's take a look here. All right. Haven't caught your show in a while because of a new work schedule. Called off, and here I am. Keep up the good work, Slee. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much with the super. Very, very kind of you doing that. You probably also didn't catch the show because I took some time off too during the off season. So August and September wasn't on 5 days a week. But the good news is now I'm back Monday through Friday. So we're going 10 straight months, Monday through Friday. Post-game show tonight right after the Lakers take on the Phoenix Suns. And then back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So hopefully for those who are big Laker NBA fans, you guys can use this channel as a resource to hang out with and hang out with everybody else in the community. So thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you doing that. Very, very kind of you. Let's get another super in here. You could just buy me. You see? That's all. I mean, everybody's throwing in comments. I go straight to the people who have purchased my love. John Drake. The issue with Rob in the front office is no urgency, no vision. I honestly don't see how JJ and Rob last long terms. JJ seems too passionate. Okay, John, let me hit on this real quick. I don't think the two are going anywhere for a while. I really don't. If you told me what are one of the things that have happened in the offseason that most surprised you, one of them was when we were there right before Media Day, and Rob Pelinka says, hey, guys, I want to announce that JJ Redick just got an extension. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's been here for a year. He's got 3 years left on his contract. What do you mean he got an extension? He got a multi-year extension. Now, there's a couple different ways to look at it. Some people say, this is solidifying that this is their head coach, and it's not going to be like it's been in the past where the Lakers have recycled so many different coaches. All right, but I mean, they had 3 years left. Did you really need to give them an extension? You don't want to just play out this year and then decide what you want to do? I don't think, even with new ownership, and I think, it's not totally clear how new ownership is, when they're going to kind of have their hands in this. I know Genie is going to be a big part still governing the Lakers. But it looks like the front office is going to be the front office. And it looks like JJ is going to be the head coach for some years to come. And I'm not even trying to make a case that shouldn't be that Pelinka or JJ shouldn't be there. But what I'm telling you is, I think they're going to be around for a little bit. So I appreciate the super. Thank you for chiming in. But I don't think these guys are going to go anywhere. And I think, obviously this year, next year is going to be very critical to see if it feels like the organization is moving in the right direction or it's not. They didn't have Luka a year ago. I'll tell you that. I think a lot of people think JJ Redick's a good coach, but I think he's got a lot to learn from his rookie year, specifically how I thought he got exposed in the playoffs. Let's get another one in here. We were talking about Austin Reaves a little bit earlier. Reaves, you want 30 plus mil. Show us some point of attack defense. Yeah, listen, I think he is what he is. I think if we're trying to expect a different version of Austin Reaves, I don't think we're going to get it. Here's the one thing I do respect from Reaves on the defensive side. It's not a lack of effort. He's just not faster than these other guys. He's not as quick. Now, he's also making other guys look stupid who are trying to guard him. Something to keep in mind. Austin Reaves is a shifty player. What did they say after? JJ Redick said he reminds him a little bit of Jamal Crawford. That's a phenomenal compliment if you're Austin Reaves offensively. But obviously defense, we know that he's got his fair share of struggles, but I don't think it's an effort thing. I don't think, sometimes you see some of these players on the defensive side, the Olay defense. I mean, we watched James Harden highlights. Go look at James Harden on defense. Harden, it's like, I just don't give a flying F. That's not the case with Austin Reaves. He's going to get paid, guys. I know whether you guys want to see it or you don't, he's going to get paid. These were some of the people that I said are angry at me. Sliwa, stop blaming the roster that carried LeBron. Grow some huevos to give LeBron some criticism. Everyone's a genius. Bro, relax. Okay? Relax. Everything's going to be okay. By the way, what are you talking about? What do you want me to criticize? He's 40. He's still putting up 26, 7, and 7. What the hell are you talking about? I love the people. There's nothing LeBron can do. I've told you guys this before. There's two people on LeBron. Either the guy has never made a mistake in his life, or everything that happens is LeBron's fault. I mean, if the stock market goes down today, it's LeBron's fault. If Luka hits a 3, LeBron should get credit for it. There's no middle ground with LeBron. I don't know what you want me to tell you. That just comes with the territory. That guy 100% wrote that comment and then flexed right in front of the camera, right in front of his keyboard. Started doing this. Do you think? That's okay. I like this. This is good. This is good for the show. If you disagree with me, throw it in there. All right, let's get some more in here. Actually, I think we're good on I think we're good on some of the comments for now. There's still a couple other topics I want to get into. Let me throw this in here. I tried throwing it in a little bit earlier when Mark was talking. What is that starting lineup without LeBron? It's perfect. It's raining today. LeBron's fault. There's no middle ground. No middle ground at all. All right, let me ask this here real quick. Starting lineup when LeBron's out. I'm a little surprised. Mark Medina threw Jake LaRavia out there. That actually surprised me. I get what he's saying, but I don't know if I really had him in play for a starting position, but I get it. I understand it. The one thing I will say, I'm going to read a quote here from JJ. JJ had a quote in regards to, how do I put it? A little bit of the strategy here without LeBron. Let me read the quote here because I think this will say something. He says, this is in regards to a starting lineup without LeBron. LeBron's going to miss, reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks, less now because that timetable was last week. He says, you want to put your 5 best players on the court as much as possible. You also want to have balance with every lineup. When we do our substitution metrics, who is going to guard? Who is going to create? Are we going to have enough shooting? So you're doing that with every lineup you put out there, including the starting lineup. We're still working through that. And obviously losing LeBron for the start of the year in some ways complicates things a bit. So we have a week to figure that out. And I think it will reveal itself to us. I like that, by the way. Sometimes I think teams just get, well, it's got to be this. Let it play out. Something that JJ Redick said early on in training camp that I said, I want this guy to hold his word by it. You got to earn it. Let players earn their minutes. Let players earn their way into the starting rotation. I can make a case right now that Vando has earned his way into the starting rotation. I definitely can. But you can also make a case that seeing a few of those games and seeing the way teams guard the Lakers and they guard Vando, maybe he works his way out of the starting rotation. I think Marcus Smart's going to be tough to throw him into the starting rotation because of, he's going to be playing his first game. We don't really know what he's going to look like, but maybe you got Marcus Smart in that starting lineup. I think this is what's 100% with LeBron out. I think Ayton, Luka, Austin Reaves, and Rui Hachimura will be your 4 starters. The question is who's going to be that 5th? And maybe that question, is it Gabe Vincent or are you just too small? But Gabe can guard some of those other guards that are out there. Is it Jake LaRavia? Is it Vando? Is it Marcus Smart? If you had to tell me right now, make a decision, I think I'm still leaning towards Vando. But I get the LaRavia piece if that ends up being the case. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see here. All right. So I think a lot of people, here's another one. People got Vando in there. Here's another one that got Vando. So I think Vando will probably be the player. We'll see. LaRavia represents spacing. LaRavia's got some work to do as well. Okay, a couple quick NBA stories that I got here. And then a few things on yesterday's games. Pretty, if you really think about it, to have a couple Monday Night Football games, couple playoff games in baseball. And then we're going to call it a day. So everybody, appreciate you guys hanging out here. NBA news. I did mention this. NBA okayed Clippers Aspiration sponsorship deal in 2021. I don't think I'm being dramatic when I say this. Right now, if I say Steve Ballmer, Los Angeles Clippers, or Kawhi Leonard, instantly there is this perception, a negative perception. Did they do a dirty deal on the side? Like, none of it leaves a good taste in your mouth about the organization, the owner, or one of, the best players in the NBA. Maybe not today, but obviously over the years. Here's what just an article that came out on ESPN. The NBA vetted and approved a $300 million sponsorship deal between the Clippers and Aspiration in 2021, months before the Green Banking Company signed a separate deal with star Kawhi Leonard that triggered a salary cap circumvention investigation by the league. 2 sources with direct knowledge of the arrangement said the Clippers submitted the 23-year agreement to the NBA for approval before it was announced in September of 2021 as required under league rules because it contained a jersey patch component, the sources said. We're going to find out what eventually happens here, but they did say that the league is kind of in one way taking a step back and in another way saying, no, we approve this. Mike Bass, spokesperson for the NBA, said teams vet their own sponsorship partners and negotiate their own sponsorship agreements. Given the jersey patches inclusion on player jerseys and its level of exposure across game telecasts, the league reviews and approves jersey patch agreements pursuant to league rules that are intended to avoid potential brand issues or conflict with league partnerships. So we'll see what the hell happens here. But I think the safe thing to say is just a really, really bad perception around the Clippers right now. One other NBA story I got. Bucks signed Alex Antetokounmpo to two-way contracts. So far, the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, you want to talk about we'll do whatever it takes to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're signing Alex Antetokounmpo to a two-way contract. They already have Thanasis. I can never pronounce his Thanasis on Antetokounmpo as well. One of the older siblings to Giannis. They will do whatever the hell it takes. I mean, if Giannis's son, I think, or whatever kids he has, I know they're super young, 5 years old, wants to be on the Bucks squad, they'll sign him too. So whatever the Bucks can do, they're going to do. Signs of desperation, sure, but like we said before, if you got a superstar, they're going to do everything they can to try to keep him. All right, let me read this here. Silver made himself famous taking the Clippers away from Sterling, and now the Clippers are taking Silver down. We'll see what happens. Not the best situation. Okay, let's get into last night here real quick. Not going to spend too much time on it, but just a quick little recap. Yesterday, there were two games in Major League Baseball, ALCS Game 2, NLCS Game 1. Mariners and the Blue Jays. That game was, I think, a 2 o'clock first pitch out here on the West Coast. Are the Seattle Mariners 2 games away from making their first World Series? Wow. Toronto went through the New York Yankees like they were nothing. I mean, the amount of runs they were putting up against the New York Yankees, and then so far in these 2 games against the Mariners, they have 4 runs total. Seattle, 10 runs yesterday. They win 10-3. They're dominating the Blue Jays. And Seattle now just 2 games away from making their first ever World Series. They win the first 2 games in Toronto. Now they got a chance to go back to Seattle and close this thing out. Pretty damn impressive from the Seattle Mariners. That was obviously game 1. Game 2, I mentioned yesterday that the Dodgers were not going to start. I mean, technically, if you went kind of by the lines here of what it looked like, they could have started Shohei Ohtani because Shohei Ohtani was set up to start game 5 against Philly. They didn't. They went ahead and started Blake Snell. Blake Snell's line yesterday, which, it's kind of absurd, but the only question mark with Blake Snell was, well, why didn't you leave him in for the 9th? I get why they didn't. I mean, in today's game, analytics has taken over so much. I don't feel like there's really a feel for a game anymore. And I'll give credit to the Dodgers and give credit to Dave Roberts to saying, yeah, we're not taking Blake Snell out. Why would we take him out? Blake Snell, 8 innings, 1 hit, 10 Ks. By the way, the dude that got the hit ended up getting thrown out. Blake Snell caught him on the bases. So faced the minimum. 10 Ks, went 8 innings, threw 103 pitches. Really just as good of a performance as you can possibly have on the mound. Blake Snell was phenomenal. The 9th got dicey. This is how you get to the World Series and win a World Series. Every close, critical game goes your way. For the Dodgers, 2 close, critical games, kind of balls bounce your way. Little things go your way against Philadelphia. They take them out in 4 games. And then 1 game in the NLCS, obviously another critical game. Roki Sasaki has trouble. Trinan comes in and trying to close out the game. A pitch that would have hit the batter, just natural instincts makes the batter kind of get out of the way. And he ends up getting the strikeout for the final out. Every close game, critical situation pitch has gone the Dodgers' way. The Dodgers don't need help. They're stacked. They're loaded. They got arguably the best starting pitching I've ever seen in the playoffs. It makes me think of the days where it was Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Greg Maddux. Kind of think of those Atlanta Brave days for those who are old enough to remember that. I'm sure there's other unbelievable pitching lineups as well, but their rotation is dirty and they're getting things to go their way. And they had some things that didn't go their way. Muncie, obviously, the double play. Muncie hitting a ball that I think goes out in a lot of different ballparks, didn't go out in Milwaukee. It felt like the Dodgers should have won that game by a lot more. I mean, it was 7 hits to 2. They probably should have won that game by a lot more, but they hold on. They win game 1, and instantly, like, I've said before, they went 0-6 against the Milwaukee Brewers. It just doesn't matter what they did in the regular season. Dodgers put themselves in a position here to go up 2-0. They got a game tonight or today. What time's the game at? Let me see here real quick. I think it's 5-ish, something along those lines. It is 5:08 first pitch. I mean, my Brewers. What happened to my Brewers? I mean, everybody knows here, I'm a huge Milwaukee guy. Milwaukee guy for years. All right. That's coming up a little bit later tonight. Something also happened yesterday. So odd, man. Something's not jiving here. Padres manager Mike Shildt retires, cites severe toll of job. Mike Shildt, 2 90-plus winning seasons in a row, which I'm going to tell you right now, that's never happened in Padres history. So the guy had tremendous amount of success. Couple years as a manager with St. Louis as well, has made the postseason. Mike Shildt's a good manager. I'm a big fan of Mike Shildt. Maybe, some of his post-game pressers, probably not the best. Doesn't really give you too much juice to talk about, but I don't care. The players liked him. They played hard for him. I'm a fan of Mike Shildt. Retires at age 57? Does it make sense? We'll see what happens down the road. Maybe there's some more information that comes out. I have no idea, but he's gone from the Padres, and now the Padres will have to figure out who the hell they bring in as their next manager. So we'll see what happens there. Not a good feeling. Not a good feeling. That the organization kind of going in a direction that doesn't seem very positive. Monday Night Football, 2 games yesterday. One really good game. Chicago Bears and the Commanders. Kind of fun, to be honest with you, when you're watching young quarterbacks. Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels came down to the end. Bears kick a field goal, 25-24. And then just an ugly performance from the Buffalo Bills. They lose to the Atlanta Falcons, 24-14. Those were the 2 Monday Night Football games. So, like I said, a really, really fun night in sports yesterday. A lot going on from there. All right, let me take a look at a couple of the comments, and then we're going to call it a day. Brewers. Obviously LeBron's fault. I mean, you're going to tell me that the Toronto Blue Jays, who put up this many runs and now all of a sudden can't score against Seattle, that doesn't somehow tie back to LeBron? Of course it's LeBron's fault. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's see. You know what's funny about all this? Shohei batting 125. I saw yesterday, I'm watching the game. I'm not watching the games fully, but I got a good idea what's going on. Freddie Freeman, I think, was struggling in the postseason. I'm like, yeah, he's going to eventually stop struggling in the postseason. He's Freddie Freeman, and then he hits a solo shot. It's like any of these guys that are struggling will eventually get it going, and they're still winning. That's what I mean for the Dodgers have so much margin for error where everybody else has no other margin for error. A lot of these other teams, you almost got to play perfect baseball to win one game against the Dodgers. With the Dodgers, it's like, all right, well, Teoscar Hernandez just hits a 3-run homer. It's like, all right, yeah, that I don't even want to say it came out of nowhere, but like other players will step up. So, all right, let me get a couple more comments in here, and then we are. And then we're all done. Yeah, he was ridiculous. Just ridiculous. 103 pitches. Okay. All right. Well, let me just kind of throw a couple quick reminders here of what we got going on for the rest of the day. So tomorrow, tonight, I will do a post-game show tonight. So right after the game tonight, I'll do a post-game show. So Lakers and the Suns, Join me for the show. Let's talk a little bit about Luka's first game back. We'll get a chance to see Marcus Smart. We'll get to see all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to see that game. So right after the game ends, I'll do a post-game show, and then I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So we got a lot cooking here. We're getting closer to the regular season starting, so I'm really looking forward to that and enjoying getting back in the groove here. It's still too soon, bro. Still too soon. They play at 105 in Peoria, Arizona in March, okay? Come on, man. All right, that's all I got, my people. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for being here. $110 today. Fun to obviously hang out with everybody and have the conversation. Shout out to Mark Medina for hanging out for the show today. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for his partnership. I'll see you guys tonight at let's call it probably around 10:30, something along those lines. Blocked. You're gone. You're out of here. All right, guys. I'll see you guys. Have a great rest of your night, or have a great rest of your morning, and then I'll see you guys tonight.